my name is Michelle Delahunty. I'm a speech-language pathologist, and I make videos for parents who've been asked by their child's speech pathologist to practice sounds in between sessions. We have lots of resources for both parents and SLPs to help make home speech practice happen on a regular and consistent basis in a way that supports the speech therapy goals. So be sure to check out the links below to learn some more about the resources that we have to offer. Today's video is a little different because we aren't talking about a daily routine like bedtime or bath time. Instead, we're talking about a game routine. So it does kind of involve adding an activity to your daily life, but if there's any element of play already in your daily routine with your child, then this is a game that you can play together. Game time is highly recommended because it involves quality time with your child, time when you can unplug and play together, connect with your child, and expose them to many learning opportunities along the way. Now, SLPs have used games to motivate children as they learn new skills forever. There are good reasons for this, including the fact that the play aspect can keep children engaged, and also because many games inherently provide repetitive action that can form the basis for repeatable speech turns. Now, I just used a few terms there, repetitive action and step, or repeatable speech turn. Those are terms about speech activity routines. So if you're not sure what a speech activity routine is and you want to learn a bit more about that, check back to some former videos where you'll see all of that explained. Step one of a speech activity routine is just noticing that there is a routine. So with the Connect 4 activity, you can just add that into your daily routine. Like most games, we can notice the routine that exists within them. Do you play the game around the same time every day? Or can you? Do you play it the same way every time? Or can you? Can you make it a routine? Can it be repeatable and predictable for you and your child? Step 2 in the speech activity routine is to identify the repeatable actions or steps. Think about the actions that you're repeating as you do the routine. Now, when playing Connect 4, I can think of 3 different times in the gameplay where we can set up some repetitive action that we can then base our speech practice upon. The first one is just when we're setting up the game. We can set the game up in a certain way every single time and make that routine. So that repetitive action of potentially maybe stacking the pieces. So as you give out the red and yellow pieces, we do them one at a time, and each person makes a pile on the table in front of them, and then they just stack their pieces one on top of the other. Okay, so you make a red pile, you make a yellow pile. As you set it up, you use that for speech practice. You could possibly make a trail or a treasure hunt or hide and find to find all the pieces in a contained area, but set something up that way so that you have to actually find or follow a trail to get all your pieces before you play. Another way you can make some repetitive action happen in this game is to do something before every turn. So if you have each set up the situation where you each have a bag or a box or a basket, and when you were setting up the game, you were pulling them out of the box and putting them in your own basket, sorting them by color, one by one to get repetitive action going on, then perhaps every time it's your turn, then you're going to be pulling out one of your pieces from the bag or from the basket or from the box, and that will be another action. So the actual taking out the piece before you even put it in may be the action that you decide to base a repeatable speech turn on. And we're going to get to the repeatable speech turn in just a second. Another thing that I find really fun to do in playing this game is to take 2 or 3 of each color token, place it on the table, and put a cup over top. So put a cup over top of each one. So in between every turn, you have to pick up a cup and see if it's your color. If it's not your color, your turn is over. Or, and you get to scramble up the cups, obviously, so the next person doesn't know where theirs is. So that can be really fun. It's a new routine that you can add to this game. It's a repetitive action that you will base a speech turn on. So there's lots of different things that you can do before you even take your turn. You might spin one of your pieces on the countertop or on the table, or you could slide it from one end of the table to the other and just make it go, and have a little competition of who can slide the farthest, and that's the person who gets to go. You can do all kinds of different things in between your turns to kind of make a repeatable or repetitive action that then your repeatable speech turn will become. And then there's another repeatable action of actually just putting the pieces into the game. That repeatable action can become speech practice too. And then step 3 is to add the repeatable speech turn. That is what you're going to say and what your child is going to say that matches the target that the SLP has asked you to practice at home. Now, there's lots of information in my other videos about the target, but the target is assigned by your child's SLP. It has to meet that criteria. So what you say for your repeatable speech turn has to meet the criteria of the target. The target can be a sound, it can be a syllable, it can be a word, it can be a phrase, it can be a sentence. It should be repeated again and again and again to get as many reps as you can in the activity that you're doing. So while we're playing Connect 4, our goal, the reason why we're using all these pieces, is because we want to get as many reps and as many opportunities for reps in as we possibly can. But we have to remember that there's accuracy above all. If the target that your child's SLP has asked you to practice at home is not coming out accurately, if it doesn't sound right, if you're not sure if what your child is saying matches the target that you're to be practicing at home, then you need to go back to your child's SLP, explain what you're trying to do, how you've been trying to practice, and I know you'll get really good advice for how you can adapt what you're doing so that your child is accurate most of the time. Now, when I'm working with a child and playing Connect 4, I could work on just about any target that I can think of. And here are some of the targets that you could be working on playing Connect 4 with your child. Let's see if one of the sounds that you're practicing at home is on this list. We are not working on all of these targets at once, right? We are working on one target. You have probably seen your child's target in that list that I showed. But if not, I bet you can come up with a way to play Connect 4 and work those targets in. It all comes down to that repetitive action that we just identified. So if, for example, when we're setting up Connect 4, we are stacking, and we are going to say, my stack is bigger, my stack is bigger, my stack is bigger, my stack is bigger. Every time you put a coin or a checker or a circle, whatever you choose to call it, because you might call it something that matches your target, right? I sometimes call them tokens. I sometimes call them checkers. I sometimes call them circles. I sometimes call them pieces. Love to use the word piece. So you can say my stack is bigger. You can say on the stack, on the stack, on the stack. You can say up, up, up. You can say oops, oops, oops. If you're just working on, very, very simple syllable shapes. So it can be something very simple, all the way up to a long sentence. I'm putting one on. I'm putting one on. I'm putting one on. The repeatable speech turn matches the target in both complexity, whether it's just a sound on its own or a syllable or a word or a phrase or a sentence, or with respect to the sound itself or the movement pattern you might be working on, or the syllable shape or the sequence of sounds that you could be targeting. Once again, if you don't know, ask your child's SLP. It may be better to say slide because you're sliding the pieces across the table and you're working on SL blends or D at the end. Or you might be lining them up along the table before you play because you're working on L and you want to say line, in the line, in the line, in the line, or just line them up, or line, 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 my line, your line, right? Do you see how just putting in this repetitive action in the routine of how you play that game gives you the opportunity to work in your speech sound target practice.
Here are just some examples of things you can say for your repeatable speech turn as you set up the game.
So again, something that you can do in between turns can be the repetitive action that you build your speech turn upon. It may be reaching into the bag or reaching into the box or reaching into the container or the hoop, because you might choose something that really works with the target that you're trying to practice. And you might do that every single time before you take a turn. Or you might just say something like my turn, my go, your go, before going ahead and taking a turn in the game. You might also play the hide the piece game. So your child might get the chance to put a red one and a yellow one in each hand, put them behind their back, do a little scramble, come back, and then say something to you to get you to pick one of the hands. And then if it's yours, you get to use it. If it's not yours, you don't get your turn. So a lot of times kids really like that, giving you the opportunity to lose your turn. Again, so they might be saying to you, pick, choose, which one, guess. So it really depends. Whatever you're working on, you're going to choose something that they can say to get you to guess one of their hands and take a turn, and it has to work with your target. That is also where that cup hiding game can come into play, because again, your child can have them all set up on the table. Everybody in between turns gets to choose a cup. If it is their color, they can take their turn. If it's not their color, they have to put it back and scramble again. So you can work on things like lift, if your target is L, or pick, or choose, or scramble, or shake. You might get them to shake the cup before they actually take a peek. They could say peek, they could say look. So there's so many different options just by adding this one element into your game routine that you can get some repeatable speech turns snuck in there.
Here are some other options for repeatable speech turns every time you take a piece.
So if we do game setup the same way each time, we might be stacking up the pieces one at a time, saying stack or on the stack. My stack is bigger each time you add one. And then every time you actually take your turn, you could say drop or down or right here or any of these other options that you see on this graphic, or anything else that might work for your child's turn. Remember, I have made those Arctic tip sheets for parents for this exact reason, because it can be hard to figure out a repeatable speech turn. So just check the second page of the tip sheet and you'll see a vast list of different words that match a target, so that you can try to figure out where you can work a repeatable speech turn into some repetitive action that you're going to do at some stage in the game. And don't feel like you have to overdo it. If you've got a great repeatable speech turn for the repetitive action of setting up and you just want to play the game, go for it. If you have a repetitive action and a repeatable speech turn for in between turns, perfect. Or just dropping in the pieces, you might be able to do all three, but don't stretch it beyond the point where your child is no longer having fun and no longer engaged in the activity. As always, the tip sheet link is below, along with the other resources that we have to offer for you. And so now we've made a really fun activity out of Connect 4. Homework is getting done, everybody's having fun, and progress is being made. So it's a triple win. So if you like this video, if you find it helpful for you as you practice speech sounds with your child, if you'd like me to do more videos about word games, if there are certain household routines or daily activities that you'd like me to do a video about, please comment below and let me know. And certainly if you enjoy the video, if you find it helpful, give it a like so that I know, and that gives me some positive reinforcement so that I continue to make the videos. Thank you so much. Be sure to check out the other resources and have fun playing together.